Let's look at how we can configure WSL. There are two types of configuration. One is at the virtual machine level and the second is at the distribution level. So first let's look at the configuration at the virtual machine level. We'll go to Explorer and then go to our home directory on Windows. In the home directory there is going to be a file called wsl config. If you open that file, we see some of the settings. The first two settings of memory and processor decides how much of the memory and processor from the laptop is allocated to WSL. To make that decision, we have to examine what we have on our laptop. So go to Task Manager, and Task Manager click on Performance. Then if you click on CPU, it shows that I have 6 cores, and in my WSL config I have provided 4 of those cores to WSL. If again go to the Task Manager, then click on the memory section. I have 8 GB of memory, and of that 8 GB I am providing 4 GB to WSL. The swap space that is specified here is the amount of memory on disk in addition to the physical memory that can be used by WSL. So swap space is used for the virtual memory system, so that if the memory if there's a spillover from the physical memory, then the additional memory is stored on the hard disk. We can also specify the swap file location. If you had different partitions, then you can decide which is the better partition to store the swap file. The next option is local host forwarding, and this is to allow Windows applications to access WSL services. So if you go to WSL and you start an HTTP server, since we have local host forwarding set to 2, then we can open a browser in Windows and access the HTTP server in WSL. If this was set to false, then we would not be able to access the HTTP server running on WSL from our Windows browser. The other options are somewhat self-explanatory. Idle timeout is for decides how long the virtual machine stays online if there is no activity. GUI applications decides whether you can launch GUI applications from WSL. In the earlier videos, we have seen how we can launch Linux applications with the GUI from WSL, like GIMP for image manipulation and other software. So if we decide to make changes to any of these configurations, then we will first have to save this file. Then we go to the WSL system, and we have to do a WSL shutdown, and then again start WSL for the new settings to take effect. So you can either edit the file directly, or you can also start configure the same settings from the UI. We go to WSL. In the startup menu, there should be like a WSL settings, and if you click on that, you will see that the same set of options are available here. Processor count, which I have set to 4. This is being picked up from the config file that we just looked at. Memory size of 4 GB. We have not made any changes. There are more options here that you can specify on the networking section, as well as some optional features. Enable GUI applications we have already looked at. So these are the global settings which are applicable to the entire WSL lightweight virtual machine. And there's another set of settings which is applicable to the specific distribution. So if you go to WSL and look at the etc WSL config file. So if you look at etc wsl.conf, so there is not much here. It says the default user is Delgado, and systemd is enabled. Systemd is the first process created by the kernel, and that is the process that starts services and manages services. So if you want some service, if you have a service or a program that you want to make sure that always running and it is automatically restarted, then you will have to specify, you will have to configure your systemd and specify that the configuration for that process. So this is the file which is specific just for this distribution. And let's look at some important features. So we are in the /mnt directory. So this is the hard disk Windows file system that is made available to us. So the /mnt/c is the C drive. So one important thing that we have to notice is if I create a file, say, and then I'll examine the attributes for that file, you will see that it has read, write, and execute for user group and everybody. So if I want to change the permissions, and then again if I do so the chmod command returned without any error, but in reality the permissions stay the same. It is still 777. So this is not working because our etc /wsl.conf is not configured to manage the permissions for the mounted file system /mnt/c. So if I do the same process in another file system anywhere else other than /mnt/c, then this chmod is going to work fine. So let's make some changes to our WSL config so that it works for the mounted file systems as well. So I'll go back to and in here I am going to enter auto mount. So the enable is equal to 2 is not required because by default it is 2 and the C drive has been automatically mounted. But we need this section to specify the options. Metadata. So we have to specify that metadata has to be set. So it looks like I'll have to So the file has been changed, so I am going to exit and restart the distribution. And I am going to restart the default distribution. So let's see if I can change the permissions of the file successfully under /mnt/c. permissions have been changed successfully. Uh, so this is one of the most important features that I found, that you can configure to enable permissions in the on the mounted file system. And there are other things that you can specify in WSL slash etc slash wsl.conf. You can specify the command that you want to run when you start the system, and there are many other options that you can find online.